Welcome everyone to episode 59 of the Bunker Talk. So excited because I love when people come to visit me from out of town. It's always so fun. Everyone, introduce yourself here. Welcome to the Bunker Talk. Dawn?
So excited to be here. So I'm Dawn Janes Bartley. I am the CEO at Maverick Partners out of chilly, Minnesota.
Yes.
It's actually chilly here in Florida right now. So, but yeah, it's a little chillier up north.
Yeah, it's a good break.
I am Alex. I am also at Maverick Partners. I do commercial production. I help out with some of the tech stuff. I'm a little bit more, in the background, opposed to the CEO, but
we're here.
But
you're learning every day.
We're here. We're a little cold. We're ready to go.
How long have you been there already, Alex?
So it was a year for me, I think December 2nd. Yeah. So about a month and a year.
Okay. Tell us, we're not going to assume that everybody knows. Obviously, Dawn is in insurance. So are obviously Alex too, but we've met through a mastermind community that we're a part of. Tell everybody a little bit about the history of you and becoming a CEO in insurance. Why insurance?
Why insurance? Well, my background's really child psych and chem dep counseling. So I thought I was going to do that most of my life. I have a desire to help people. But I also have a drive that I need to actually see tangible results from, and I have to have stuff I can fix. I can't just throw things out to the universe and, hope that people get better. It's just not how I'm wired. So I fell into insurance. I don't
like most.
Yeah, I don't have a family background. Nobody was in it. And I chose property casualty because I felt like it was something people needed. And I didn't feel like I was the person that could force somebody to purchase something that I knew they needed, but they didn't want. Mm-hmm. So I started off in property casualty, really in personal lines, auto, home, because you buy a home, you have a mortgage, so you need home insurance. And that felt easy to me because I can do a really good job at it and I can solve a problem and you already needed it. So we had a relationship. Same thing for auto. And then I eventually moved into commercial lines and I love the commercial line side of the business. It'll be hard for me to, imagine myself not in that at some point. It's in my mind all the time.
What is it that you love about the production? Is it the hunting? Is it the bringing of the solutions?
I think it's the bringing of the solutions. So we were at a conference last night and I was sitting with Alan Kinney and we were chatting and Alex made a joke that in 20 years from now, Alan and I will be sitting in a chair, 30 years from now, and they'll bring us something to drink and a couple of Accord forms or ISO forms to read, and we'll be totally entertained for the next hour. Right. Because we were sitting there talking about certificates of insurance. And he was like, this is the closing event. Yeah. Why are you two doing this? But that's what I like.
It was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. It's 100% true.
Right. Well, you know what? That's also, it's good because when you do get to that age, this industry, it's like, I see it now. Like I see it here. I mean, I have a multi-generational industry. My dad's early 70s. My youngest, they're my youngest, like if they're my kids, they're both in their 20s, very under 25. And I tell my dad all the time, I don't need you behind technology. I don't need you in Hawksoft. What I need you doing is mentoring them. Right. 100%. So that would be the concept of this, right? Alex takes over and you're mentoring the new stuff, right? Like we need it. This industry needs it because it's complex. Yep. And the insurance knowledge that you have from years of doing this is only brain transferred. It's not in the books. It's in the day-to-day conversations. And I think that's why it's also important to work in an office.
Right.
The conversations that happen in between the phone calls, you can't replace that.
Yeah. My philosophy at work is at best we're hybrid. Right. Now we do have some fully remote for particular positions, but when I'm interviewing, I'm not interviewing and I won't take candidates that are looking for just only remote. We lose some of that camaraderie and we lose, there's a spark that happens when I can hear him ask a question or he talks to Joel or I hear Shirley talk to Alex and I go, ooh, I have something to add to that. I'm not in a electronic channel for that. And they lose my knowledge and input. But that happens in that fluid office environment.
Yeah. And I think especially, again, multi-generational, it's necessary because I mean, it's the only way we learn because I mean, I started at that age too, I'm at my parents' agency and it was you just 9 to 7, pounding the pavement together.
I think a lot of what he's gained has just been I think some of those just fluid conversations where something happens and I'll go up front and I'll go, can I because I have 2 of them in my Wayzata location and some of the other team are up at Coon Rapids, but I'll grab Joel and Alex, who are the 2 youngest in my team in commercial lines. And I'll say, I just want to share an experience or a situation, or there's just a ton of that happens that I wouldn't have time to sit down and type it all out and put it in a Slack channel or put it in a Teams channel.
It also doesn't translate the same.
It doesn't translate the same. And I need to do it right now while it's fresh and I'm enthusiastic about it. And so that's what happens. So they get a lot of that just by being physically there. And so I do like that component for our office that people are in person.
Alex, question for you. Being in it for a year already, what's the part of the business that you like?
Funny enough, I think it's the people. So all the technical skills that I learned were tough and the processes that you have to learn are tough. But kind of like what Dawn said, I don't feel like I'm attracted to a specific action or a specific task. For me, I enjoy that everything is different. I enjoy that the approach you have to take with each client is different. I enjoy that every underwriter is different. I enjoy that everyone on your team is different. That's how I'm wired. And that's why I think, like you said, fell into insurance. Everyone falls into insurance because you can't really sell that intangible aspect of it. It's the personality that you have, how you're wired. And for me, that's really what I feel like I connect with is everything is different and, a little bit the same at the same time. But I like coming in to the office, knowing what tasks I'll be doing, if it's quoting, if it's talking with a client, but not really knowing how it'll go. It's the skills, it's the ability to adapt on the spot. That's really where I feel like I clicked.
Yeah. It's funny because the job is very detailed. Our industry is extremely detailed. And I think that most likely why it's not that sexy for the younger generation, right? And the tech has caught up some, but it's still very segmented and a little outdated. But the critical thinking that is needed for that is a plus if you like it. If you can do it and you enjoy that, this is a good spot and it's, very lucrative.
Yep. I think that in commercial line, so I've always described it when I'm interviewing or talking to candidates or, the topic comes up. I think having spent time in personal lines and knowing why I went into that first, I think in personal lines, it's still definitely complex, but there's less pieces of complexity. So there's only so many things on a homeowner's policy or only so many things on an auto policy. Very few manuscripted stuff. Right. It's just going to be approved by the state and that's how it goes. So you can be fantastic and you can learn all of that. And then your biggest skill is talking to clients and being that on that personal level. And I always say that, in my opinion, working with business owners, a lot of times by the time you're on the phone or on an email, they actually want you to know what they want. They want you to have guessed it or anticipated it. And they want you to have fixed it yesterday, even though they just reached out today. And that works well for me and it works well for Alex because our personalities are great. I have a task. You want me to solve it. I'm fantastic at that. And now I'm going to go get it done. And I might not spend 20 minutes chatting with you about your vacation. And I'm sorry if I don't do that. It's not that I don't care, but my care is how do I make your business world move better, faster, and make sure that I've met that need. And I don't want to take your time away to have small talk with me. If you want to have small talk, come chat with me afterwards and let me know. But otherwise, I figure you want me to solve your problem. So
I love that.
Yeah.
How many team members do you have?
Including myself, we're at 17. That includes an intern. We have a high school intern who started with us last year, and he's like 3 days a week after school, not looking for insurance, but really looking for office and understanding kind of the business dynamics. And he stayed around for the summer and then came back this year. He's in his senior year, so he'll be with us through the end of May. He's been fantastic. I love having him aboard. And it was a learning curve for me to figure out how to have somebody like that on to make sure not only was he helping us, but that we were helping him.
So managing 17 people, it's not easy. Tell me, what have you learned?
I'm not really good at it.
Okay.
So again, I think that I got into this because I love insurance, and I got into this because I'm good at it. Like I really am. I will put myself up there that I think I am one of the most knowledgeable, technical,
I would agree,
form people out there. Like there's not a lot that I don't feel comfortable in. That, however, doesn't translate into the people part or wanting to manage all of that. And so that has been a struggle as we've grown to figure out what person or what position do I need to move that to. So I'm still working on that. I think my team deserves somebody better than my skill set to help with their day-to-day management and their that accountability and leadership stuff. I'm not great at HR. That's just not my skill set.
Honestly though, but that's the making of a great CEO, right? You know what you're bad at, and that's okay. Like the delegation, which sounds like that's what the piece you're in. You have to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and if you've got that, then great, hire for it, right? I mean, so many people you have to try to convince them, like, hey, maybe you should take this off your plate. You're not great at it, right? Like at least you're aware. At least you're aware of it. What do you think, Alex? What being in this business and like at your age, how old are you?
I just turned 21.
Okay. So at your age, what have you already learned about like leadership, being in this environment?
So I think that this industry is special in a way because everyone has kind of a leadership quality about them. Just because, some people aren't leading a company or a whole department, everybody has kind of that self-driven, motivating aspect that you need to succeed in at least commercial insurance. I don't have any personal insurance experience. But in commercial lines, you need that. You need to be self-driven. You need to be self-motivating. You want to get up every day and go into work and get stuff done. So talking with people kind of redefined leadership for me. The more agents and owners I talk to, I see the same qualities in all of them, which is everything I just went over. And I think it's really interesting to be in a crowd like that. Her and I were talking about this on the way over. It's about who you surround yourself with. And being at conferences, being on podcasts, being in the office with a bunch of other people who share those qualities is very, very motivating. It rubs off on you. Even if you aren't someone who kind of comes into it with those traits, I think leadership in this industry is it's so much more at a foundational level than you would think of in other industries, where I think really everybody has leadership, whether they're leading people or department. That's more of a technical definition, but they have self-leadership. And I think that is such an important piece of being in this industry. And it's been something that I've really enjoyed seeing in everybody I speak with and kind of redefining for myself.
I think you're right. And I think that a benefit for all of us really, but even for you starting out, you're not just talking to insurance people, you're also talking to so many business owners, right? From other industries, and you hear their challenges and we get phone calls here for insurance and we're almost therapists to these people, right? Like they start venting about how hard their business is and how hard it is to hire and how hard it is to grow. Like you end up just picking up. You're going to see similarities across industries, right? Entrepreneurship is that no matter the industry, right? So it does help to also just start already in that commercial space because you're already talking to just so many, leaders. And I love what you said too, because it's like whether you acknowledge it or not, you are. And whether it's leading a team or not, you're leading yourself every single day. Yep. And in sales, you need an aspect of that to succeed for sure.
Well, and to some degree, what he said, I hadn't really thought about, but the way our environment is set up, everybody has clients that they are the account managers for. So they're really leading their clients every day with what are the appropriate things that you need. The goal is to lead them to either, identify their risk, choose how they're going to mitigate that. Insurance is just one tool. I've said that for years. You can do contract work. You can stop doing that type of business, whatever it is. But they're leading those clients to a comfortable resolution. And then they have whatever number of clients that they do that for every day. So there is a sense of personal, accountability that makes a good team member. And trust, right? Yeah. You're building trust with people that only know you over the phone. Yep. In theory, right? Unless they come in. But the idea that you can build rapport with someone for them to trust you enough with their business, with their livelihood and the livelihood of their employees, like that's a big deal. And it shouldn't be taken lightly. I tell my staff here all the time, like what we do is so important because if we do our job incorrectly, like it really can affect a lot of families in our community. Yep. Right. Yep. So there's a sense of that. Tell me, and I don't know, are you training him or no?
Like,
I mean, on the technical stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to ask because I'm going to ask you the same question from your perspective though, but from like sales, what is your best advice if someone is struggling with sales? How do you, handle your team? How do you motivate them? How do you, or even if you could jump in whenever.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, so my approach has always been very different because I came at it with the consultative aspect.
Great.
Again, I also, if you had asked me this, and I think I've said it over my years, is that I'm not a salesperson. Like I never thought I didn't see myself as that. I'm a solutions provider and I can diagnose issues, I can anticipate problems, and I can bring those solutions to the table. But if you don't want to purchase them or you don't want to implement some sort of mitigation, that's okay. The psychology part of me, when I was working in that field, that was hard because I could bring those solutions to you and, and I'm supposed to let you figure them out. So I can ask you questions and then you're supposed to get there on your own. I don't have that patience. I'm going to bring those solutions to you. I'm going to lay them out on a table. I'm going to tell you what the consequences are of not moving ahead. And then you pick. And there's no emotional tie to that. And so I'm not sure that I am like the best sales guru. I do believe firmly that you need to have a very strong knowledge of your product. That means that you have to read the form. I say it so many times to my team. If people call me and ask me, if you haven't started with the form that you're providing your client, then you made a mistake. So first start there, make sure you understand what you're talking about. And then the rest of it, I really feel like is, how you define yourself. Alex and I are really the only two sales in our office that handle the new clients coming in. And I think both of us are very similar in that consultative part, which is I will provide those resources and I will come up with a solution. But I'm not going to, message you 15 times. I'm not going to hunt you down or send you weird emails to try to guilt you to come back.
Right.
I already know I did a great job. And if you don't see it or don't want to work with us or whatever, and that's fine. That's okay.
So how does that translate though, when you have staff and you're trying to hold them accountable, like to sales goals?
So for us, again, even though they're 17, they're account managers and they don't have sales goals. So Alex has a sales goal and I guess I do and I don't, but, so for him, really, I work with David's group on Killing Commercial for accountability. And we have our sales goals. And then it really is looking at what is he selling? I'll do kind of daily things like, how'd this one go? Do you need help with this one? Where are you at? What is your struggle? And then I think is your meeting on Fridays with David usually?
Yeah. The weekly Fridays with David.
Yeah. So he takes like half hour and talks about that. We had another accountability partner last year when he was first onboarding so that we had a little bit more in-depth accountability, but really that's it. It's here's what you need to do. And then we evaluate if we make a mistake, if we don't respond fast enough. Okay, well then what do we need to do different next time? I think I'm not really the personality that I guess gets super upset if you make a mistake. If you make the same mistake 3 times, we're going to have a different conversation, but there's zero reason why you can't make a mistake. And I usually take that and build on it and say, especially if you take accountability, when my team comes to me and says, this is how I screwed up, before I have to find out from somebody else or whatever else, I'm like, fantastic. If you're already mad at yourself because you made a mistake, I don't have to be mad at you. And that's what one of my employees that's not with me anymore had said that. Like, you're the kind of person that, how come you're not more mad at me? And I'm like, I can clearly see that you're mad enough at yourself. Right. Only one of us needs to be mad. So as long as you're mad at yourself for not meeting expectations or goals or rules, I don't also have to be mad. So then let's just figure out what to do next to fix it.
What's funny? I was watching Richard Branson's masterclass. It's really good. And he's very basic. I mean, it's wild. The success he's had in his theories or strategies are very basic. Like, be a good person. The good people, the good guy wins, right? Those types of things, like take a notepad and a pen to meetings. Like, you're not more important. Your mind can't handle it. Like, very, very good, basic stuff. But he talks about when you're giving constructive criticism or holding someone accountable in this environment, to stop and remember that you don't know how long the words that you say are going to live in their head.
That's true.
And I thought that was so good because it's like, it could be constructive criticism and it could be laid up, but just consider how necessary is it, because really it could linger. And if you think about it, we all kind of have that, right? Like, oh, my fourth grade teacher once said this to me, right. And it's almost a chip on our shoulder. And I really did think that was just so good. And I like that you say that too. Like, why harp on them when they already, owned it? The biggest part is the owning of it, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, if you have to convince them, then that's a problem.
If I come at it and I start to hear excuses out the gate, I'm like, okay, this is not going as I expected. I was thinking, like when you said earlier about being in office and stuff like that, I was going to ask, that's one of my struggles is I'm pretty direct. And when I lose the in-person part of that, I do worry that my tone and my written word comes across.
I would agree. I think with anybody.
I mean, I even look at some of the corrections I make through Teams because I have remote members and I can't always pick up a phone. And sometimes I'm trying to get them like, don't do this, or you need to do this, or don't forget to do this. And I think that if we were in person, face to face, it would sound the way I sound in the office. But I think in writing, I don't know that it always comes across the way my passion is in person.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And I think the passion is the piece of it. I think it's a lot easier to handle, kind of whatever, I don't know what the word you would call it, accountability, whatever that looks like. I think it's a lot easier to handle it when you can tell that there is more than just anger behind it. When you're having an in-person conversation and you can tell that, like, I'm educating you, I'm showing you because I want you to be great. I think that feeling makes it so much easier to handle, harsh words or whatever it looks like when you're holding somebody accountable. I think that in-person piece is so important because otherwise you're reading a text on a screen or a Teams message or an email and you're like, oh, you hate me. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I hate that part.
Yeah, no, but that's not just you. I think it's, because sometimes like if I'm in a rush and I'm sending a Teams message, like I'll hit enter and then I'll say thanks. Like I realize, right?
I do the same thing.
Yeah, but I've also spoken to you 9,000 times through Teams. So it's like, why do I have to keep saying please and thank you? But you do.
Right.
You do.
Yeah.
How has being held accountable weekly helped you?
So I would say that for me, I think accountability in general is going to look different for each person. I find it really hard to be motivated when I don't understand where I fit into the process and what the benefit and the bigger picture of what I'm doing is. And whether that's accountability for a specific task or something over months or years. So I have a computer science background. That's what I did in high school. I did a semester of college before I dropped out. And at that point in my life, it was so hard for me to understand why it was I was doing anything because, computer science was, it was the fad for a lot of kids my age. So it's what you went into, you're supposed to make money. If you have a computer background, it's supposed to be your best path. But once you get into it and you'll get to a point where you hit the wall, and whether or not you hit it immediately sooner like I did, or whether or not it's something you hit 5 or 10 years into your career after you're out of college, I got to a point where I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I know why I'm supposed to be doing this, but there's no internal like feeling of motivation for that. I think for insurance, understanding where I fit in as someone who does production or sales, how my role contributes to the overall picture was one of the things that really helped it click for me. So learning like what it looks like for you guys as agency owners, why the production matters, what happens when your producer doesn't meet their goals, because it's easy to log in and look at your CRM and see, oh, I haven't hit my goal. I have hit my goal. I have to do X, Y, and Z to hit my goal. Why are those goals there?
Right.
If you don't understand why those goals are there, it's so much harder to just, you don't want to just tell yourself you have to be motivated. You don't want to tell yourself to hit goals. My philosophy with my mindset that I want to get to in whatever it is in my life, whether it's, my career in insurance or anything I do outside of it, I want to be self-motivated. I want to not have to think about why I'm doing the thing I'm doing. Just get up and do it because it's what you want to do. So for me, it was understanding where I fit in, what happens to an agency from the owner's perspective, from the manager's perspective, when your producer is failing their goals. How does it affect them? How does it affect the rest of the team? How does it affect the individual departments? How How does it affect metrics? And for me, for someone, like I said, I feel like I really strive when I feel that internal motivation. Being able to understand it from an owner's perspective helps me understand the dream of the owner. And it helps you buy in.
There's an ownership in the bigger picture, not just in your task or your job or your hour, clock in, clock out. It's an ownership in that bigger picture.
Yeah. And I mean, people naturally have those qualities about them. They want to help other people. They want to, be there for other people. They want to do things to help other people. That's just a human trait. And it might, a limited experience for me, but it just seems to be lost. And this isn't about our agency. This is about the industry as a whole. It doesn't seem to be a focus area, which is kind of a surprise for me that, the mentality of the owner is always going to be different than the mentality of the staff. It's why they're the owner opposed to the staff. And I think owners need to understand what that looks like from the perspective of their staff. And everything you guys have talked about buying in, about how do you get your staff motivated and accountable, they're not going to be motivated the same way the owner will be. The owner has all these big goals. The owner has all these visions. They have all these things they want to reach and achieve. And for your staff, it's not going to, they don't share those goals. That's why they're working for you. And it's the process of showing them how they can contribute, even though the goals aren't their own. How are you contributing to someone else's goal? And I think that process is entirely different. That's a mental training almost, opposed to like a physical one or one that's just determined by metrics. And
I think on the commercial stuff, because you're working with business owners, you get to feed that a little bit. So I might be the owner at our agency, but Alex gets to feed the success of other people's companies without having to own it, doesn't have to have a stake in it, doesn't have to lose everything if it goes south, but you get to partner and you get to feel that energy and experience the challenges. And I think there's a little bit of uniqueness in working with commercial clients because you get to know other entrepreneurs and you get to have that.
Yeah. And you get to see their
sense.
Business grow and you get to help them.
Yes.
Like we are helping them with their business growing, right? Like if we set them up right, they qualify for larger contracts, they can expand, they can grow. Yep. It really is. We are playing a key component of their business. But I also like how you mentioned that it's the bigger buy-in part of like, it's her vision, but you have an opportunity to buy into it. And I think that it's one of those things, Billy Wagner says it, that like when you help other people, well, I think it might be Zig Ziglar, but Billy Wagner is the one. I mean, might as well be Billy Wagner. That he says like, when you help other people accomplish their goals, they'll help you accomplish theirs, right? So when there's this layer of reciprocity of I'm working here, right? Because I want to pay off my house. Well, great. Let's make sure you sell more policies so you can get more commission so you can pay off your house, right? Someone else might be, I really want to take my kids to Disney World every single year. Okay. Well, that's almost a mortgage. It's Disney World. That's expensive. That is a goal for some people because it is so expensive. But there's ideas of and there's an element of motivation when you can share it and encouragement when you share it together as a team. Like here, my staff is very young. Sophia just got married, right? She comes to me, I want to get because in Florida, there's 2 licenses, the customer service one and the 220, the general agent one. I'm going to get my license. I said, great. She goes, I already put the money away to pay for it. I said, no, I'm going to pay for it. Right. She just got married, comes to me. I want to come work full time. Great. What else do you want? Well, I do want to grow, maybe manage people. Great. What else? What do you want personally? Right. They're in Europe now. Like we all got to work to make a living. We might as well work somewhere where we're appreciated and we get along and we are moving the needles in our own lives.
What's the cliche? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I mean, there's no lie to that. And I think that goes to what Alex said, which is if you understand the role and the value you're playing in the lives or businesses of the people you're working for, because you bring a value, like your knowledge is better, your claims support is better, your anticipation is better, your reading the forms is better. If you think that about yourself, if you've been elevated to that, then you are an important part of somebody else's life or somebody else's business. And that's actually the value. What you make in your compensation or your schedule, again, you have to do it somewhere. Why not do it in a place where you are bringing value in another relationship.
And I think that that's something that your generation wants and likes, right? They want to, not only do they want to work somewhere where obviously they're appreciated and their goals are met, but your generation definitely wants to make an impact. I think it's very different, I would say, than mine. I mean, I'm 42. And I don't know that like
mine's different too.
Right. Well, yours is you got to do it anyways. You got to pay. Yes. You got to pay the bills, right? Yeah. Mine is a little more like, well, how much money can I make because I need to have these experiences and I want to live a comfortable life, right? Yeah. But yours, I think, is very, very motivated on value and impact, right? And I think that this industry is a great opportunity for your generation.
Yeah, I fully agree. I was talking with Joe from Assembly about this last night. I think that we were having a great conversation about, and I've had the same conversation with so many people because it seems to be such a pressing issue, is that like getting my generation into insurance is not going to look the same as it does for you guys. Right. And of all the areas where, being younger is more of a disadvantage, this I would say is not one of them. I feel like my perspective on our generation is able to offer so much because I understand what it is a bunch of kids are looking for. And I mean, it's such a different world that everybody is living in. My generation really wants to, like you said, make an impact, make money, all these big things. And it's about finding the direction that you can actually achieve that through. So for me, that was, that's why the computer science thing was such a big deal for everyone in my age is that's how you're supposed to make money. That's how you're supposed to pay for your massive loans. And even more than just the money, I think there's such a misunderstanding around this industry and what it looks like.
I agree.
No one really understands.
Yeah, that's our fault. We don't communicate it very well.
No.
Yeah, and I was telling Joe that's really, in my experience and opinion, the approach that people are going to have to start taking if they want buy-in from the younger generation is people need to do a better job about explaining what it is that we do. David says it a lot. David Crothers, Jason Cass says it a lot is, you get paid to make friends. And, insurance agent or I do insurance. And this is how I felt a couple years ago. It's nothing like what, it seems to be from the outside.
Is not sexy.
There's just not a lot of, there's not a lot of conversations around what it is. And it's more than just the day-to-day activities of your job. Is this industry feels so separated from going to work. It feels more of like a lifestyle, honestly.
I would agree.
Yeah, I've never said it that way, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'll say that Alex, I've been in this industry since before Alex was born. Alex said, I had no idea what you did. Now, I also was not the parent that brought my kids in or said you had to come work in my office. Like I kept that totally separate. If they're going to end up in the industry, I want it to be because they want to. It's on their terms. And I can give you feedback about what I think you're going to like. I can tell you that the way Alex thinks, an account manager or customer service is not for him. So I said, the only role I could probably see you in, because he's like, what do you have? And I said, I would have sales support because I'm doing it all myself at this point, and that'd be great. And he said, I'm not good at sales. And I'm like, that's okay, neither am I. I said, but if you're passionate about learning, if you like to be accurate, if you care about the details, and you really do like to learn something new every day, and there's nothing wrong with not. There's plenty of people that go out every day and they do their job and they check in and they check out and they're responsible for this set of things. And that's fantastic because that works for them. I know and love many of them. This is my responsibility and I don't want any more of that. I don't want to bring it home emotionally. I don't want to bring it home mentally. Whereas for me, I need that. I need tomorrow to be a little bit different and a little bit harder than it was today. Otherwise, my brain's not stretched. That's why I like this commercial side. And I think
sounds like he's
and that's where I said, just trust me. Just trust me. I'm not going to set you up to fail because then I'm failing. Give us a shot. But it comes with, all the CE that he needs to take. I'm a rabid CE freak about stuff in my office. People have to take good CE. They have to take credentials, all of it. And to learn it. And then, make sure that you're putting the needs of the client first and that you have to understand the business that you're working in. And that's why it's different every day. And I think if we explain that to the generation that's looking, you don't need a college degree.
Right.
You do not need one. You just had to be smart,
right?
Detail oriented, kind of self-motivated,
Yeah.
self-driven, want to be a part
You
of
have
the
to be
team.
likable.
You have to be
You have to
likable.
be likable. It is a personality industry, right?
Absolutely,
You have
yeah.
to be able to have relationships with
Yep.
people and
Because you need your underwriters to
Sure.
do what you want. You have to
yeah,
build,
you're playing both sides, right?
Yeah, you
need
have to build
the carrier
trust.
side, the customer side,
Yeah.
then it's
But trust is at the core of
Trust,
it because
yep.
your underwriters get to know you and trust you. If they know that you pre-underwrite the risk and that you don't send them garbage or at-risk stuff, then when you send them something and you need it, they get it to you. And they trust you. Like, I think this is a good one. And they're like, okay, we don't really want this kind of a risk right now, but we'll take it from you. That's because we built that trust. We have the
trust.
reputation for that. And I think if you have those skills and you like that, this is a fantastic industry.
I think so many people, I'm on the board of my Latin Agents Association down here, and we try to get into the colleges to do some recruiting and show them what we do. And it's like, you hear financial services, everyone's like Wall Street. I'm going to make so much money. And it's like, if they only gave this a shot,
Yep.
and I always tell people the first 3 years are the hardest. I had a phone call with someone recently that was just starting an agency. And I said, listen, if you can make it through the first 3 years,
Yeah.
put your head down, do the work, you will make it.
Yep.
You will make it, especially in the production side, because, the residual income is the beauty of this industry. And the average lifespan of a client in this business is unheard of.
Yep.
They ride the wave through the good and the bad with you because they trust you.
Yep.
Well,
and I think one of the things too that there's a misunderstanding about, and you could speak to this maybe, when you think about it, I think a lot of the younger generation or those that have never had anybody in their circle in it, everybody assumes it's all sales and then it's commission. And I think there's a section that's like, I don't want that. All of my team is salary based. They're account managers. Their responsibility is to take care of the clients that we have that they're assigned to, and whatever that looks like. I don't have sales goals for any of them. And so every agency and every organization is different. And there's plenty of roles where you can be customer service oriented, which is just taking care of people with your heart, with your head in your heart. And you don't have to have sales. You don't have to have it based on commission. If you are commission driven or you're income driven like that, where I could work a little harder, work a little smarter, make a little bit more, there's an entire opportunity for that. There's carrier sides, there's MGA
so many
sides,
levels.
there's
so many
underwriting,
levels,
there's
right.
marketing, there's tech.
There's value in all of them and money in all of them.
All of them.
So
Yes.
if you want both.
Yes.
Last quick question here. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Oh boy. I don't know.
Let's start thinking.
Yeah. Do you have
start
a,
thinking. Oh, if you know
I might
yours.
need more time.
Okay.
I'll let you
Or
think.
good life advice.
Yeah. I guess for me, I would just think about how I'm wired from a resilient standpoint. So yesterday the Tuesday during Marcus Sheridan's deal that we were attending, he started off by saying, half of the room is going to be open-minded about what I say, and the other half is going to come at it with why you can't do it. And I do believe that. I believe I can talk to
That's in
somebody
life,
and they're going to
right.
say, that sounds like maybe let me see if I can do that. And then you can talk to somebody who throws out a road, speed bump or a roadblock, no matter what solution. Can't do that, couldn't do that. That's
Right.
not possible. And I think I chose early on to keep an open mind because I can always step over the line and say, I've listened to all of the openness and I'm going to say that it's not doable. But I didn't shut the door before I got there. So I think for me that whether it's
I like that.
whether it's business advice or life advice, I think if you find yourself always saying, I can't. So you know what my life advice is? And I've said it 1,000 times now that I think about it.
Yeah. I know what she's going to say, and it's 100% true.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I say this to my kids.
true.
I say this to
It's true.
people.
In every aspect.
I don't care what it is. If you think you can, now my kids will say, can you fly? No, I cannot fly. But,
Not yet.
Not yet. But I really do think no matter what's in front of you, getting a designation, tackling a big client, learning something new, taking responsibility for a mistake that you made, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. And that's the first thing you need to decide.
Yep. I fully agree with what Dawn.
Once I got
I
there.
say that too.
Yeah.
So funny enough, I think the best advice that has impacted me wasn't something I heard. It was more something I learned. And this is more of life advice outside of business, but it applies all the same. I think that what really changed for me, and it happened, similarly to the time that I got into the industry, so it did line up a little bit, was learning to switch my mentality away from fear of failure and, regret and doubt. All of those feelings, living life like that is not fun. And I think that when you can learn to look at mistakes you've made, when you can learn to look at things you've done in the past, and even if it's a one-time thing or if it's a way you were living your life, anything that you really feel bad about, it just is an opportunity to change it and feel better. So I really think that learning to look at the way you live your life as a whole, why it is you feel certain ways about certain things, is every hurdle you run into, every road bump you run into, every time you trip, it really just is an opportunity to get over the fence and be able to look back on where you were before. And I think it's the same thing, whether it's a business owner or you're in commercial production or you aren't in insurance at all. I think that mentality is really what brings everybody to the finish line. Everybody I talk to in this industry, and that's why I said at the beginning, it's not something that people just like come out and say, but it's what they tell through their stories. All the stories of failure and stories of success, that really is the message that people and agency owners are trying to push. And it's 100% true. It's 100% accurate. And it really is transformative, more so than just fixing one small piece of a process that you have an issue with. Is learning to look and change your outlook on and your perspective on everything. That will naturally fix, in my experience and opinion, some of the smaller things that people are, it's so much easier to identify one little piece of your life or of your job that you don't like and you want to change.
Focus.
But learning to switch your focus and switch your perspective, you'll slowly start fixing those naturally and you won't really realize it. And I think that's why it's maybe not talked about as much. But it's so important. And I think that's how really, I think the self-motivation piece of it, happens is everybody I talk to on the agency owner side all have that quality about them where they are almost excited to fail because they know that without failing, they won't grow.
I was going to ask you, so we just went through this conference and I just think also the Killing Commercial group and just some of the circles that we have. Did you notice, like so many of the speakers talked about, here's how I failed and here's how I overcame it. I think that transparency,
It's refreshing.
It is. And have you picked up on that, Alex?
Yeah,
and just
I have.
Because the stories, everybody's really quick to share
The wins.
At least in the circle that I'm in, is we're really also good to, like, this is what I didn't do right. And this is how I didn't succeed. And these are the mistakes I made. And we are like, and then don't make them.
Right.
And you're going to have a room that's going to say, well, I'm going to try it anyways. And that's fine. And then you're going to have the rest of the room that's going to be like, I'm not going to do that because I like you and I trust you. So if you also found that didn't work, maybe I shouldn't go put my hand on the hot stove.
Yeah, I think the thing is that the biggest winners, whether it's in life, or I think it is in life and in this industry, the biggest winners in my experience, they share their failures because they see them as wins. And that mentality is really what brings them to the top, and it just rubs off, in a leadership position or in a non-leadership position. From a literal perspective, compared to what we talked about earlier, that mentality rubs off and it encourages, if you're an owner or a department manager, it encourages your staff to fail. There is nothing to fear about failure because you won't grow without it. You can live a whole life winning, but you need to fail to win better.
How good's the win if you don't know what a loss is?
Yep.
I think too, we're all human. We all make mistakes. And I do think that it's really easy if the image is that I've had 100 easy things and I look fantastic. I mean, there's forms I can read and questions I can answer, but the time that I do it wrong or the time that I fail is how I can show the integrity and the ethics and the commitment and the passion behind it, because it's easy to look great when there's no challenges. But when that challenge happens, how do you rise above, or how do you show that you're in it in there? I want to ask you, what's your best life advice? Or business advice?
I would say that one that I've heard recently, and I think it changes for me, but one that I heard recently was the good times don't last and the bad times don't last.
That's very true.
So ride the wave. When things are good, great.
Yep.
And when things are bad, know that they won't last. So you'll come out of it.
I think in the world of where we at with just mental health care and stuff like that, that I think that's something that's really important, that those bad times, they don't last. And
nothing lasts forever. So guys, this was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
I love
thank you
coming
for
all the
your
way down
friendship
here. Yeah,
and your
you too.
mentorship. Being a woman in this industry is easier because of you. So thank you. And Alex,
thank you for all your inspiration and the stuff that gets me out of my forms and because I would stay in a form if it wasn't.
I got to pull you out sometimes.
I know. So I appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure to have you. You guys will be back.
Pleasure to be on. We will.